So how about a bold statement? This is the best stuffed crust pizza that you're going to have. So let's not waste any time and get into how to make this amazing pie. Amazing cheese-filled crust and a nice crispy, golden brown, fluffy crust that you're gonna love. Full recipe is on the website. Check it out and let's get started. I've had lots of pizzas in my life and lots of stuffed crust pizzas as well. And what I don't like, which I hope to do better in this pizza, is have enough cheese in there and to make sure that that stuffed crust does not creep too much into the actual topping, the cheese part of the actual pizza itself. So let's get right into the basics. Here is some active dry yeast to which I'm gonna add in some lukewarm water, and then with a whisk, just give it a nice vigorous mix until you see some froth just like this. Next, I have my double O pizza flour in the bowl of my stand mixer with the dough hook attached. Just start mixing that on low speed and then add in your yeast water mixture, and then immediately after add in most of your cold water as well. Leave about a tablespoon or two in your measuring cup or bowl. What we're going to do with that water is put that into the bowl which had the yeast, and we'll get all of that water that was left behind and put that back into our mixer. Continue to mix until the dough has come together. You should not see any dried bits of dough or flour at the bottom. If you see that, add water 1 tablespoon at a time. Now this looks perfect. Once it has come together, stop the mixer, add your salt and continue mixing for about a minute or so. After the 1 minute, it's still not done. We still have to do some more mixing, but we'll first add in our olive oil and then put the dough back into work mode. Continue mixing now for about a minute or so again. And if you see that the dough is stuck all the way up to the dough hook, just stop the mixer, take the dough out of the hook, and then continue mixing for about 30 seconds to a minute. We really don't want to work the dough for too long. The longer you mix your dough, the tougher and more dense the final crust, the bread, is going to be. So once your timer is up, take the dough out of the stand mixer and then we'll stretch the dough for about a minute or two. What you want to do is take the dough and stretch it just like this. We're holding it back with our left hand while stretching with our right hand, right being the dominant hand. And every time we fold it back, we turn it about 45 to 90 degrees and then repeat the same. What this is doing is developing the gluten, which is important for a beautiful pizza crust. Now just fold your dough into a ball and we'll place a damp piece of kitchen towel over it and let this just rest for about 20 minutes. Now after the 20 minutes, take the kitchen towel out and now we'll divide the dough up into our 2 medium-sized pizza portions. I'm going to use a bench scraper or a dough scraper, whatever you want to call it. Super helpful. And now we want to take the dough and then fold it in this manner. So you're basically stretching the face of the dough while creating a seal at the back. And you can see as I continue to do this, the top becomes smoother and smoother. This is creating tension on the surface, and when the dough will be given the time it needs to rise, it's going to rise evenly in a nice spherical manner on all sides. And I'm just going to toss my 2 dough portions onto a baking sheet, and we want to make sure we tightly wrap this in plastic wrap, at least 2 layers. Just going to make sure that there's no air that comes in and dehydrates our dough. And we will let these doughs proof in the fridge overnight. We'll give it at least 24 hours, and that's going to help create some beautiful flavors. And this is what we have after 24 hours. They've risen significantly, more than double it looks like. And we're going to carefully remove the plastic wrap. Some of it might look like it's stuck. Just lightly pull the dough away with your fingers and it should come right off. Perfect. So our first dough portion is ready, completely unwrapped. I'm going to let the other one stay under the plastic so that it doesn't dry out. And we'll prepare our countertop to work the first dough. So sprinkle it with some semolina. You can use corn flour if you want as well. And then add in some of the flour that you used to make the dough as well. And then with the help of my handy tool over here, I'm gonna pick the dough from the baking sheet and place it carefully on the countertop. That semolina and flour mixture will prevent the dough from sticking as we are stretching it to make our pizza, and it's gonna add some flavor and texture to the final product as well. Now with the palms of your hands, continue to stretch the dough, leaving an imaginary line for the rim of the pizza as you continue to do so. Now in this case, since you're making a stuffed pizza, you want to make sure you kind of flatten that rim because we want to stuff it and we don't want it to be too big of a rim. Nobody wants that. So once you flatten that with the fingers by just lightly pressing on it, and before we actually make our cheese filled crust, take a fork and then prick it all along the rim of that pizza dough. That's going to help prevent it from rising too much and then opening the seal that we will be creating very shortly with all of our cheese. Now when that is done, it's time to peel all of our mozzarella cheese strings. If for any reason you cannot find mozzarella cheese strings, just take a block of mozzarella and then cut it into strips roughly about ½ an inch in thickness. Now as you put the cheese all around the circumference of your pizza, don't be afraid to lightly press that cheese directly onto that raw crust to really make sure it holds that curve you're trying to put in your cheese string to really go along the roundness of your pizza. And then once you're done putting all the cheese on, it's time to then take that dough and then wrap it around the cheese strings which you just placed. Do that along the entire circumference of the pizza, and then we'll take a fork and then do the same pricking motion on the seal that we just created. This step will again prevent it from rising at the seam while baking. Now brushing that crust with some water after we've pricked it will help make sure that we really seal that dough tight, because we don't want it to pry open as the dough starts to rise. And now just press it and be confident to press it, really press it to create that seal. Nothing worse than having a stuffed crust pizza where the cheese is not stuffed anymore. Now to form the pizza, we'll slide the dough onto our wooden peel, which I've dusted with some semolina to prevent the dough from sticking. Nothing worse than having a fully assembled pizza which you cannot get off the peel. And we need this peel because we have a super hot baking steel in the oven heating up at 500 Fahrenheit. Now those of you who are following me on Instagram must have seen my first attempt at making this stuffed crust pizza. It was kind of a fail because the cheese kind of came out of that stuffed crust and it didn't just hold the way I wanted it to be. But if you want to see behind the scenes and see what's coming up next, then be sure to check out my Instagram channel. Now let's not forget about our tomato sauce. So here is some passata that I've added into a bowl here. This is going to be a no-cook tomato sauce and it's going to cook directly on the pizza in the oven. The passata is basically pureed tomatoes, and then to this add in some olive oil, then a tablespoon of tomato paste, 2 cloves of garlic which I've minced over here. And for seasoning, some oregano, a bit of chili flake if you want a bit of heat, and then a pinch of salt. And that is all. Mix this up really well and then set this aside. The longer this sits, the better it is. Make it 24 hours ahead if you can. And the same goes for this quick garlic chili oil, which I would recommend making 1 day ahead. Just add in some garlic, which I've minced into a bowl or a ramekin, followed by some chili flakes, and then fill it up with olive oil. That will become amazing by the time you're ready to make your pizza. Just give it a quick mix. Okay, so all the hard work is done and we're in the fun part. I'm gonna put half the sauce that we made the day before onto our first pizza. This is gonna be our pepperoni stuffed pizza. Just spread that sauce all over, and then we're gonna add our first layer of cheese, which is gonna be our provolone, which I've torn and added over here. If you ever try to make pizzas with a nice cheese bowl, then be sure to put provolone as the first layer of cheese and then put your mozzarella or cheddar or whatever. That provolone, when that melts, it's gonna give you some beautiful cheese balls. Then for your mozzarella, just put a giant bunch of it right down the middle and then spread that to the edges of your pizza. This should make it super easy for you to have an even layer of cheesiness, and then go have some fun adding the pepperoni onto your pizza. You can double layer it if you really want to. That's looking amazing. Make sure to give a quick shake to your peel to make sure that nothing is stuck and we are safe to move to the next stage. I've switched my oven to broil mode on high, and my oven's been heating at 500 Fahrenheit for about an hour. Baking steel at the top and stone at the bottommost rack. Add the pizza in with a push and pull motion. Now if you're serious about making good pizzas at home, then you cannot get away from using a pizza peel. Two I would recommend, one to put it in and one to handle the dough as you're making other pizzas, and baking stones or baking steels. I personally prefer baking steels. They're easier to maintain and are much thinner, so it takes up less room while storing it. So we have to use a tool, a peel, to put the pizza onto the baking stone so you can start cooking right away. Develops that nice crispy pizzeria quality crust, and then cook rapidly as well. And that takes us to our second pizza, which is gonna be a 4 cheese stuffed crust pizza. Yes, we are doing that. So again, first layer of provolone, followed by a generous layer of mozzarella cheese, and then some applewood smoked cheddar, which adds a nice smoky, almost barbecue-like flavor onto our pizza. Now my top pizza, my pepperoni pizza, the cheese is molten, we have some nice browning on the rim. I'm gonna rotate it 180 degrees Celsius. The pizza has only been cooking for about 2 minutes and it's already looking so amazing. We can see the crust has not exploded, which is great. And we let this cook on the other side for about 30 seconds to a minute. Now, this is looking amazing. You can see the bubbling. I'm gonna transfer that to the bottommost stone, which has been just bare all this while. So it's nice and hot. We can finish the crust and then in a quick push-pull motion, add the cheese pizza onto the top stone. Most homemade pizza pans or even baking sheets will warp at those high temperatures, and you'll most likely damage it at temperatures going over 500, 550 Fahrenheit. And these are some of the best pizzas that I've ever had, period. I've had lots of restaurant style pizzas and this just blows a lot of it out the water. Just look at how even, golden brown and beautiful this all is looking. Check out that golden brown crust on the cheese pizza. Yes. I know this ain't no McDonald's, but man, I'm loving this. Now we just have to make sure we finish that bottom crust, so make sure you transfer it at the bottommost stone. Let that cook for at least 30 seconds until you see some browning, and we are ready to slice and dice our pizzas. Right before that, we're gonna make these beautiful pizzas even prettier. Brush that chili garlic oil that we prepared the last evening, and this is gonna just make the pizza so fragrant. And make sure to sprinkle some of that directly onto the pizza as well. And go ahead and slice them into 6 or 8 pieces, and then do the same with the 4 cheese stuffed pizza as well. That is ready. Now don't forget to brush it with some of that chili garlic oil. It's almost like having a cheesy garlic bread with your pizza, but the garlic bread is part of your pizza. How amazing is that? Sprinkle some of that garlic oil onto the actual pizza as well, and a light sprinkling of Parmesan cheese, which is finely grated. It's gonna melt right away on that pizza. Slice your pizza up into 6 or 8 pieces and check this out. Look at what we just created together. As promised, the pizza part is a pizza. Our crust is not creeping completely into our pizza, and we have the real estate to make this pizza a pizza. And look at how generous the cheese inside that stuffed crust is. No compromises. There's no leakage at all. And this is what you got to do to make the perfect stuffed crust pizza every single time. Beautiful. If you guys live to cook, then be sure to hit subscribe to this channel. I have a couple of years of experience working in a professional kitchen, and I hope to use those skills to show you how to get food out from the fridge to the table in the most efficient way possible. And I hope to teach you a few of those tricks as I go along. And by any chance, if you got some leftover pepperoni, then you have to check out my homemade pepperoni pizza bagels. And if you have leftover sauce, then check out my homemade mozzarella sticks. For more pizzas, check out this whole playlist. See you guys.